Good morning, my good friends. Good morning. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to my live stream. Welcome. Let me introduce myself. My name is Andre Lefevre, and I like to mouth off on things political, things cultural, things interesting. And we're going to dissect some news today. The biggest story, bar none, right now, is the immigration report. Is the immigration bill? It seems to be that rhinos like Paul Ryan and the liberal Democrats, and all Democrats are liberal, decided the way to approach legalizing millions and millions of illegal immigrants is by tagging on the heartstrings, by talking about poor children that have been separated from parents. Now, I'm going to play you a clip by Tucker Carlson that I came across yesterday that shows which direction they're going. Now, it's a cold calculated tactic. It's a tactic to pack the voting rolls and keep the progressive Nazis in power, to reduce us to the position of serfs and subjects. And never mind that most of the children that are being held are like 80% from the numbers I remember from yesterday came here without parents. And parents committed a felony by crossing the border. And if a U.S. citizen crosses the border, if a U.S. citizen commits a felony, well, the children are taken away from him as well. But let's listen to Tucker Carlson, because he can illuminate what's going on a lot better than I can. And here we go.
Welcome to Tucker Carlson Tonight. The spectacle of illegal immigrants separated from their children at the border has ceased to be a news story in any traditional sense of the term. It is now an event, a kind of competition in which elites vie to see who can reach greater heights of rhetorical...
Hi, everybody. Stefan Molyneux from Freedom Lane. Hope you're doing well. Now, when Germany undergo...
Here we go.
If the media and liberals want to defend MS-13, they're more than welcome to.
Some parents dispute that Kunat immediately intervened, saying he...
Here we go. Sorry about that.
Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson Tonight. The spectacle of illegal immigrants separated from their children at the border has ceased to be a news story in any traditional sense of the term. It is now an event, a kind of competition in which elites vie to see who can reach greater heights of rhetorical excess and self-righteous posturing. It is performance art, really. Congresswoman Nancy Pelosi and even Hillary Clinton took an early lead in the contest by bypassing public policy questions entirely and moving straight to theology. Here are part of their sermons. Watch.
The hypocrisy of all people of faith in our country not to clamor for this, for what the administration is doing to end.
Those who selectively use the Bible to justify this cruelty are ignoring a central tenet of Christianity. Jesus said, "Suffer the little children unto me." He did not say, "Let the children suffer."
So the same people who support third-term post-viability abortion for purposes of sex selection are now lecturing you about God and sin and the holiness of children. Feel chastened? But wait, there's more. So much more. On Facebook, Senator Ben Sasse called the administration's policy wicked, as in immoral and devilish. Former First Lady Laura Bush likened it to the internment of the Japanese during World War II, a moral stain upon this nation. Former CIA Director Michael Hayden went all the way. He tweeted out a picture of Auschwitz, a death camp, and compared the U.S. government to the Nazis. After sobering up, Hayden walked that back a little bit on television, but not much. Watch.
I know we're not Nazi Germany, all right? But there is a commonality there. I've lived in Germany for 3 years.
I had enough of this. I can't even say it pisses me off. It insults my intelligence. Today's liberals have a direct link to the Nazis. Nazis, communists, progressives all have a common root. And if you really look at the history objectively, before World War II, both Hitler and Benito Mussolini were the heroes of American left, of American liberals. So the only reason this is being pushed is to bring as many illegals as possible into United States and vote them illegally. That's only why the Democrats can win. And in the long term, they want to legalize them so they don't have to break the law when they vote the illegals. They want to replace us, ladies and gents. They want to replace us. Moving on. I think I covered that yesterday. This is an interesting story. Let's see that we talked about here. We talked about this story yesterday. YouTube is spreading conspiracy theories about Anthony Bourdain's death. This is from BuzzFeed News. Let me say this. Is that Alex Jones? I heard that on Alex Jones' channel, and I heard it from on the internet from other sources. Is that Anthony Bourdain was more than likely suicided, killed, because he was privy to many immoral and illegal things that our power elites are doing, especially primarily child sex rings, the pedophilia. And that's why he was killed. Since YouTube is actively suppressing this story, and if you try to Google it, you probably won't find it. They're suppressing it too. It's true more than likely. This is from Washington Times. This is from yesterday. DACA kids approved despite murder, rape, and sex crime arrests. This is a dirty, big secret. It's not even a secret. It's just anybody with common sense understands it. When they talk about DACA kids, they're not talking about little darlings, cute little infants. They're talking MS-13 members, teenagers and adults who pose as children to get here. That's what they're talking about. And by the way, it's a coordinated attack by the corporate control media and the progressive Nazis, which is the Democratic Party. They're all talking in tune, and the reason I know that is because they're suppressing videos like this one, because on YouTube, and it's hard to find. When you Google search it, it's hard to find it. I did few videos already about the immigration bill. And the ones that I posted on YouTube got hardly any views. And it's hard to have a 4,000 view one day and then drop down in single digits the next day. It just in a statistical impossibility, but that's what they're doing. I actually, a few weeks ago, anticipating this, opened a backup YouTube channel, and you can always find me on BitChute as well. Let's see, this is, I like this story. This is from Washington Post, and again, this is from yesterday. Supreme Court declines to stop political gerrymandering. Let me read you a couple of paragraphs. The Supreme Court declined Monday to overturn Wisconsin's heavily gerrymandered legislative districts, saying the plaintiffs didn't do enough to prove they have standing to bring lawsuits. Decision amounts to a punt on one of the most closely watched cases of the year, leaving for another day the big question how much partisanship is allowed when legislatures draw their maps. Chief Justice John G. Roberts Jr., writing for the court, said it wasn't enough to claim that Wisconsin's district had drawn to favor one party or another. The plaintiffs need to prove they individually were unable to vote for credible candidates of their choice because of the gerrymander. Now this is a game that been played forever in American politics. The districts are drawn in such a way to favor one party over another. I am conflicted about this issue because I live in California, and Rhino Republicans and progressive Nazi Democrats gerrymandered their districts, so the Republicans are in constant minority, almost non-existent, and progressive Nazi Democrats are always in majority. And it's very hard to change that situation because of gerrymandering. There are virtually no competitive districts in California. Usually when parties agree, it becomes a progressive Nazi duopoly. So I would love to see more competitive districts in California and everywhere where there is a real competition between the ideas and people, personalities, and ideologies when people vote, rather than bland autocratic government that we get from people that are secure in their position and don't have to worry about being reelected. But I have no idea how to fix it. I haven't seen any credible. So I think it should be that the question, in my view, should never be settled, should be in constant flux. And I would love to see freedom-loving people keep on throwing the fuel on the fire and exposing the corruption. And gerrymandering is definitely corruption. Even though I have to be intellectually honest, I don't know what to replace it with. Moving on. American Medical Association calls for a nationwide ban of all assault rifles and high-capacity guns. Let's see, this is from AMA. AMA Wire. AMA backs common sense measures to prevent gun injuries and death. This is basically a press release from AMA. In a sweeping set of actions aimed at reducing the toll of the U.S. firearms deaths and injuries, the AMA House of Delegates today backed gun violence restraining orders, tough background checks, and better data collection, among other measures. Immediate past President David O'Barby was the one apparently pushing all this. They're also want to confiscate so-called assault weapons, basically weapons that can protect us the best. Let me say this: I emailed an interview request to Dr. Barbie, and I emailed interview request to Sarah Berg, who wrote this press release, and if I don't get any answer within a day or two, I will just cold call them and see if we can talk to them on a live stream. Now, Second Amendment haters have only one goal in mind. Make sure that government rules supreme and can roll over us and we can't fight back. There's no other reason for it. Therefore, the autocratic, totalitarian type system, to make sure that citizens like us cannot protect ourselves, that we fully depend on the government, and the government can do to us whatever they can. The Second Amendment wasn't written just for us to be able to protect us from highway robbery, burglary, and terrorism. The main goal for us to have the Second Amendment is to be able for us, American citizens, to protect ourselves from the corrupt government officials. And the corrupt government officials are the ones that want us to have no Second Amendment, so they can do with us what they wish. Let's see, this one is from 100%fedup.com. Dems using illegal kids as midterm pawns, but said nothing during 15 border surge. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly the same thing. They want to bring as many illegals to vote legally or illegally. That's the only way they can win. That's the only way they can win. And when they talk about kids and DACA, they're not talking about little darlings. They're talking MS-13, which is the enforcement arm of the progressive Nazis of the Democrats. This is an interesting story from Washington Times. Trump dossier writer grilled by authorities as part of lawsuit. Anti-Trump dossier writer Christopher Steele on Monday underwent his first adversarial questioning since his unverified charges were posted by BuzzFeed in January 2017. Mr. Steele, a former British spy, has so far evaded requests by U.S. congressional committees to appear as witness. He's been sued by Alexei Gabarev, a Russian tech entrepreneur, who Mr. Steele said in his dossier was responsible for hacking Democratic Party computers, infecting them with spyware and pornography. I don't think they needed the Russians to infect Democratic computers with pornography. Don't know about spyware, but pornography, yeah, they don't need Russians to do that to them. A British master ruled in March that Gabarev, who is also suing BuzzFeed, is entitled to question Mr. Steele within certain parameters. So there are no details of what questions and answers happened, but the ball is rolling towards those who try to depose President Trump in a coup d'etat. It's rolling way too slow for my taste, and I'm sure your taste as well. But it is good news. It is good news. There's so many petty politics involved in this, but these people need to see justice. I'm not certain they will, but at least I'm heartened that Russians decided to do that for us. This is again Washington Times. Comey refuses to testify to Congress. Grassley says McCabe pleads Fifth Amendment. Apparently Comey put out a lie that, again, I was surprised that he wasn't in the United States, so he can't testify before Congress. And of course, McCabe, he knows the son of a bitch is guilty. He knows he's dirty. For some reason, Comey, even though he is besmirched and he's out of official power, still wields a lot of political power. He can evade the Congress. And unfortunately, let's see, let me read a couple of paragraphs here. Fired FBI Director James B. Comey refused to appear before Congress on Monday to talk about his handling of Clinton email investigation, and his fired Deputy Andrew McCabe asserted his Fifth Amendment rights against self-incrimination, Senator Charles E. Grassley said. Former Attorney General Loretta Lynch also declined to show up for a major hearing where the Senate Judiciary Committee was looking into Inspection General's report detailing major bungles by Mr. Comey's handling of Clinton investigation. Apparently, the committee cannot issue a subpoena to force all of them to testify because they need the ranking Democrat to agree. And California Senator Dianne Feinstein, the progressive Nazi, would not agree to that. So, there's a good story. This day Trump 2020 flag makes a front row appearance at Robert De Niro's New York City musical. Apparently, some brave soul decided to unfurl a Trump flag, the MAGA flag, during the Robert De Niro's musical performance in New York. I love things like that. Of course, the guy was escorted. It wasn't arrested, but was escorted. Here's a story from a Free Thought Project. 22 people shot during a mass shooting Sunday, but it doesn't fit the narrative, so media is ignoring it. At least 22 people were injured in a mass shooting in a store in a state that has notoriously strict gun control and has quickly disappeared from headlines. Trenton, New Jersey, reports of a mass shooting at an arts festival in which at least 22 people were injured may have sounded like the perfect recipe to send anti-gun politicians and mainstream media pundits to their soapboxes to call for increased gun control. But instead, it has quietly disappeared from the headlines, and there are a few notable reasons why. Around 1,000 people were enjoying the arts all-night festival when gunfire broke out around 2:45 a.m. on Sunday, when the horrific incident, while the horrific incident included some of the basic elements of typical mass shootings, with a gunman opening fire on an unarmed crowd, there were a few distinct differences. Location: the shooting happened in the state of New Jersey, which is known to have some of the strictest gun control laws in the country. In fact, Governor Phil Murphy signed 6 bills to outlaw this week, bills into law this week that are all targeted to increase gun control by expanding background checks, adding increased restrictions to concealed carry permits, and reducing the legal capacity of ammunition magazine. The new legislation included a law that establishes a red flag system where individuals can report people who they believe are dangerous, and those suspects will have their firearms temporarily seized by police. Yet, when the restrictions that were there already in place, both the media and the politicians have stayed eerily silent about the fact that the state's strict gun control laws did not stop this mass shooting. Suspects: every time the mainstream media devotes 24/7 coverage to a mass shooting, there is a one-man thing in common: the suspect. Each massacre is carried out by a lone gunman, in quotation mark, who has a list of reasons why he is angry at the world, handful of psychotropic drugs that have side effects which explain his erratic and violent behavior, and a longing to gain fame and notoriety like the mass shooters who came before him. In this case, the recent mass shooting in New Jersey, there were 2 suspects, Taj Wells, 32, and Amir Armstrong, 23. They were reported members of opposing gangs, and while they opened fire on one another, Wells have been blamed for unleashing a hail of bullets on the crowd, and he was eventually taken down after he was shot and killed by the police. There was another major difference. Neither one of those suspects were white, so... and of course, to make it stick, it's got to be white Christian, a lone gunman. Otherwise, media doesn't play. And let's face it, all those school shootings that fit the narrative, most of them, I'm convinced, are false flag operations. This is a story from Daily Caller. Comey under investigation for handling of classified information. Read the first couple of paragraphs. Former FBI Director James Comey is under investigation for mishandling classified information. DOJ Inspector General Michael Horowitz revealed he is specially under investigation for his handling of memos he wrote about interactions with President Trump while FBI Director. I hope investigation will continue, and it's not just to placate us. Comey needs to be in jail. Comey just needs to be in jail for obstruction of justice, and at least this is the least of the charges. Let's see. I'm not ready for this story. AMA. Let's see. This is Washington Times. Ted Cruz announced bill to stop family separations of the border. Unfortunately, Ted Cruz proves time after time that he is a notorious rhino. he is playing right into the hands of the progressive Nazis, the Democratic Party. There is no serious problem in separating the families at the border. This is just a tool to use to pack our voting rolls with the illegal immigrants. And no matter how good his bill looks, Ted Cruz's bill eventually will legalize MS-13 gang members and pack our rolls with the illegal immigrants who will vote Democrat, who will vote for progressive Nazis. Sorry, Ted, you're out. We know that you're a rhino. We know that you work for the other side. This one, I'll probably, before the end of the week, I'm going to start calling some politicians and asking them questions on my live stream. Again, the Washington Times article, Republicans abandon Trump, demand an end to zero-tolerance border policy. High-profile Republicans said they are writing bills that would end family separation. Massachusetts Governor Charlie Baker, Republican, said he will no longer allow his National Guard troops to assist border security as a protest against Mr. Trump's policies. This is how you know that we have a turncoats in the Republican Party. If they're seriously, if they're taking the claims of the progressive Nazis that it's a problem of kids being separated, that's how you separate Republican progressive Nazis from the freedom-loving people like us, from libertarians and conservatives. So we just, Governor Charlie Baker just outed himself, and he's worth calling, see if we can, I'll get his enlisted number, see if I can surprise him with a phone call. I appreciate you joining me on this live stream. A lot more than I can ever tell you. Visit my website, wildnews.us. And folks, God bless you. God bless you. Have a wonderful day. Have an absolutely wonderful, wonderful day.